If you only have time to see one, I recommend personally Magnificent Desolation. It's about the moon landings. It's in 3D, and it was produced and narrated by a very famous Apollo astronaut, Tom Hanks. So check it out. Do nothing but facts. This is our windshield tour of the Space Center. I only talk about what's outside the window. All right. One recommendation: always have your cameras on and ready to go. We can't really stop for any great length of time for you to take a picture of one of our security guards, better known as alligators. And we have approximately 5,000 on the payroll. So always have your cameras ready to go. To your front right is a rocket. It's a replica of the rocket and capsule that took America's first astronaut in space. That was almost 49 years ago. And his name was Alan Shepard. He made a 15-minute flight up and back. 3 weeks later, President John F. Kennedy said, "We're going to the moon." A little more than 8 years later, July of 1969, a man named Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon. I know for sure some of you folks aboard this bus recall watching that on your black and white televisions 40 years ago this past July. You're not getting older. Your children are getting older.
My
For the last almost 29 years, we've been flying space shuttles from here. The world's only manned, reusable spacecraft. If you get anything out of your visit here today, please get this. We're only doing space shuttles for about 8 more months, and that's it. They're going to be retired. What's our future? I'll use 3 words. And I'll use that throughout the tour. To be determined. 2 weeks ago, this past Monday, the current administration canceled our future program, which was called Constellation. We have plans of going back to the moon and maybe someday going to Mars. Our future space program, the initial future, will be, yes, we're going to the space station, but it won't be aboard American spacecraft. It'll be aboard Russia. We are going to be turning toward a commercial company to deliver our astronauts into space. We'll show you. Off to your left is our massive vehicle assembly building. You're 5 miles away. It stands 52 stories tall and literally built on top of a swamp. And that's one of the main reasons why they chose this area, North Merritt Island, to launch the big moon rockets. Mostly unpopulated, very, very cheap swampland. Folks, it is no longer unpopulated, and trust me, it is no longer very, very cheap. This is the part of the Kennedy Space Center you don't see on television. This is called the industrial area. These are all the support buildings to help run the big spaceport. How many folks work out here at the Kennedy Space Center? 15,000. 15,000 today. NASA does not hire workers. NASA hires contractors, and they in turn hire the workers. They do everything from mowing the lawn to working on the space shuttle. NASA, National Aeronautics Space Administration, or never a straight answer. Your choice. We are one of 10 centers around the country. Our main job for the next 8 months is to prepare and launch space shuttles. It is a government facility, so therefore you need to have a headquarters. So to our front right is our headquarters. If you look real carefully, just beyond the American flag up on the 4th floor, you'll see the open blinds to the office of our center director. His name is Bob Cabana, and he's a former shuttle commander. And you can imagine the responsibility resting on his shoulders as he oversees the remaining flights of the Space Shuttle program and transitions to be determined. But the most important facility out here in the local area is to your front right. Officially, they call it Operations and Checkout. To you and I, that's the Holiday Inn for the astronauts. That's their home, away from home. So when the shuttle crew hopefully lands back here this Sunday night, this is where they're going to spend the night before they fly back to their homes in Houston. For a launch, they show up about 4 days prior to launch. And then one of the newest facilities out here, and when I say new because it was built less than 40 years ago, is to your front right. And that's our space station processing facility. This is where all the parts of the International Space Station that are launched aboard the shuttle undergo their final checkout and testing. It is not a factory. Quality control. I could make a joke right now, but I won't. Yes, ma'am.
How many more shuttle missions will be in the next?
Okay, how many more shuttle missions? That was going to be my next third sentence. As of today, I like being a lawyer, as of today, there's only 4 shuttle missions left. And right now, the last one is scheduled for mid-September. Mid-September. This current shuttle mission in space right now, attached to the space station, the Space Shuttle Endeavour, they brought up the last major American piece to the space station. Like a living module, half the length of this bus, twice as wide. That last major American piece was built in Italy. They also had a window attached to it called the cupola. Maybe you saw that in your news this morning. Now, they have a room with a view. It's spectacular. Thanks. If you're not aware of it, we've been having people living up there aboard Space Station for the last 9+ years. We currently have 5 people living up there as residents, 2 Americans, 2 Russians, 1 Japanese. They normally stay up there for 6 months at a time. How do they get up there? And more importantly, how do they get home? Russia. So who have we been relying on for the last 9 years for most of the people getting back and forth? Russia. Who are we going to just rely on for the immediate future after the shuttle retires? Russia. Stay tuned. Okay, let me switch gears on you. Cape Canaveral. It's where it all started almost 60 years ago. Cape Canaveral is where we launched Alan Shepard, John Glenn, those famous early flights. Cape Canaveral, I know for sure, some of you folks aboard the bus might recall Cape Canaveral being called Cape Kennedy. And that's where all the confusion comes about. It hasn't been Cape Kennedy in over 36 years. And also to eliminate confusion, Cape Canaveral in front of you is a totally separate launch facility run by the United States Air Force. Kennedy Space Center is run by NASA. Manned, unmanned, rockets, satellites. Last rocket launch from here was last Friday. That last structure way off to your left, NASA launched a satellite to study the sun. On the opposite end of the spectrum, to your front left, that big white tower, to your front left about 10 o'clock, on March the 1st, we're going to launch a satellite to study the Earth. It's a weather satellite. So when you watch the Weather Channel to see how warm it is here in Florida, and they show those satellite views from way up there, that's where the satellites are launched from. But I think more importantly, to the front right, in the glare of the sun, you see 2 small gray towers. That's where all the GPS satellites have been launched from for the last 20 years. So GPS has revolutionized the way we live. And to kind of give you a sense of where you're at, look off to your right, you might make out a cruise ship. That's Port Canaveral. That's where the Disney ships go in and out of. You cannot get away from Mickey Mouse anywhere out there. So Port Canaveral is the 2nd busiest cruise ship terminal in America.
Fatwick.
Feckwick.
Fedwick.
Fecklig.